Jake Humphries, Platinum Sports Picks, week 14 of the NFL. We're going for 9 winning weeks in a row. I've just done a whole bunch of research for this week 14, and something that's really interested me about this week in particular is I think there's going to be a lot of undervalued home teams and underbet home teams. To me, it looks like there's a lot of situations where the road team is the easy decision, and I think that the home teams will cover the number or win outright more often than the away teams this week, at least in the first slate of games in particular. I think there's a lot of ballsy selections to be had on the home teams, and those tough picks and those gutsy picks are normally the ones that come through. I think there's a lot of games here where you look at the card and you say, oh yeah, they should be too good for them, they should be too good for them. But there's really a bigger picture in a lot of these situations. And I'm going to try and help you guys with the betting and kind of talk about where I think you need to be careful, where the lines moved, who's in, who's out, what people are betting on, and what we need to try and do in order to get this 9th winning week in a row. We are currently -2 stakes on the week because we had the Oakland Raiders on Thursday Night Football. Prior to that, we had the New York Jets on Monday Night Football. So we actually have lost 2 NFL games in a row, which isn't normal for us recently, considering we've been absolutely crushing the bookies lately. As I said, going for 9 winning weeks in a row, so 8 winning weeks prior to week 14, and I've got to keep it going, and that roll-on is going to start now with this week 14 preview. What I'm going to do is I'm using CrownBet for the odds that I'm quoting, so if you just want to open up CrownBet and just check the NFL card, you can scroll through it and you can look at the games, the lines, and kind of follow what I'm doing in terms of navigation and game order. So the first game that we've got on deck on CrownBet is the Tennessee Titans hosting the Denver Broncos. Now, the Broncos come into this game as a $2 outsider, and you got plus half a point here on CrownBet. So the Titans are a slight favourite. Now, I think the Denver Broncos, this is an example where it appears to me like the away team is going to be the more public bet game. And it is. In this situation, I'll go through on covers.com. I can see that 56% of the volume or tickets is on the Denver Broncos. On scoresandodds.com, we've got 64% of tickets on the Broncos, 63% of money on the Broncos. And then lastly, on Sportsbook Review, NFL Consensus, I can see here that the Denver Broncos have taken 62.64% of the tickets and 69.93% of the volume. So, that is for the Cincinnati-Cleveland game. There's a different game. The wages data, the minimum wager data has not been recorded on Sportsbook Review. However, on these other 2 websites, I can see that the Denver Broncos are copying more of the public backing. And that's just because they're the Super Bowl champions. They've got a lot more well-known players. They're a big market team. But I don't really think that the Denver Broncos are going to have it all their way in this game against the Tennessee Titans. I'll tell you why. Look, everybody knows, all my clients know that I love the Tennessee Titans. I love them as a team. I love their quarterback. I love them as an underdog. And I think that in this situation, this is a really accurately judged match from the bookies. I think the Titans deserve to be a slight favourite. I actually capped this one as the Titans -1, and it's pretty much spot on. The Tennessee Titans are 6-6. The Denver Broncos are 8-4, but this game is probably more crucial for the Denver Broncos just because of the fact that if they do lose this game, they're going to remain in 3rd position in the AFC West, whereas if the Titans lose this game, they've still got a pretty fair shot of winning the AFC South. Trevor Siemian is going to be playing for Denver in this game. However, when you look at Trevor Siemian and Paxton Lynch, I think both of those guys are pretty similar. They both bring a lot to the table, or they both bring a lot of the same things to the table, rather. I wouldn't say either of them bring a lot to the table. And one thing that sticks out for me in this one is that the Titans are coming off a bye. So when you look at teams coming off a bye, it's normally a good thing for that team, especially if they're a home team. The Tennessee Titans, they've been sitting around, preparing, training, watching film, trying to get themselves ready for this crucial game against the Denver Broncos. And whereas the Denver Broncos last week were in Florida, playing against the Jags, and then they come north and go to Tennessee to play against the Titans. I think the Titans are going to be very ready for this one. They've got a great offense. Look, the one thing in this one that I looked, before I did my number crunching, I looked at this one and I said, okay, is Marcus Mariota going to be able to handle Denver's defense? And is he going to be able to handle their ability to take the football away? The Denver Broncos are +7 in the turnover differential this season, which is very good. But the Tennessee Titans' Marcus Mariota, he has gone 3 games in a row without throwing an interception and has only thrown 8 interceptions all season. He's thrown 0 red zone interceptions in his entire career. And as part of a winning team, he's thrown 16 touchdowns and 2 interceptions all season. So I think that if I was to have any concerns over Marcus Mariota not taking care of the ball in this game, I think that those concerns were erased with these statistics. And I think that that'll be a real focal point of the Titans coaching staff, trying to keep the ball in safe hands, whether that be handing it off to DeMarco Murray or really, really trying to put an emphasis on intermediate and short throws and kind of not testing out this dangerous Broncos secondary too much. I think the Titans are going to be able to get a lot of joy when they play defense, and on offense they just need to probably score 20 or so points and that'll be enough to win the game. I think the Titans will win this game. Jarrell Casey, who is an excellent 3-technique defensive tackle, he's a game-time call in this one. That may be the difference, whether he plays or not. But from what I've read, it's looking to me like Jarrell Casey will play. I like the Titans in this. I think they win this one 20 points to 16. My official card is going to come out after the podcast, so don't bet on it yet. But early on, the Titans 20 points to 16 over the Denver Broncos is what I'm predicting for the first game. The second game is the Arizona Cardinals at the Miami Dolphins. This is the largest line movement of the week, where the Arizona Cardinals started at +2. Now they're into -2. They started at +2.5. Now they're into -2. Which means it's a 4.5 point swing. And I really can't tell you why that swing has happened. This is another situation where the road team is more of a public favourite. They get more ESPN time. They get more time under the public spotlight. But the Miami Dolphins are a quite achieving 7-5 football team. They've won a lot of games recently. They play good at home. They're 5-1 at home, and the Cardinals are 1-4 on the road. Tyrann Mathieu is out for the away team, the Cardinals. So why are we getting all of this crazy movement? Look, I think a lot of people might think that the Dolphins bubble has bursted. They were 7-4. They lost last week at Baltimore. Ryan Tannehill looked very human. He looked very ordinary. But we've got to remember, before that, in that big stretch, that 2-month period, or whatever it was where they were winning games, Ryan Tannehill looked really, really good. And I think against a Cardinals secondary with Tyrann Mathieu out and really an underperforming Cardinals defense, they have been underperforming all week. The Dolphins have got a strong running game to lean on with Jay Ajayi. I don't know why the Dolphins are underdogs in this game. I guess it's a kind of a follow the leader mentality where people are betting on the Cardinals and then people keep betting on the Cardinals and then keep betting on the Cardinals again. I think that's what we've seen in this one. I don't see any reason for the Cardinals to be heavily bet. I think the Miami Dolphins are going to win this game. I think they're going to win 24 points to 20. And I think that this is going to be the second game where the public is wrong. And I think that the road less travelled in the Miami Dolphins are going to not only win against the spread, but I think they're going to win outright in this game. Miami Dolphins 24, Cardinals 20. Please wait for the card to be released until you place your bets. The next game, and boy, what do you know, another game where I think the road team could be in a little bit of trouble. They've got a minus line. It's the Minnesota Vikings, 6-6, going into the 2-10 Jacksonville Jaguars. But here's the kicker. The Minnesota Vikings are missing Harrison Smith, who is their free safety, who is the best player on their team, who is arguably the best safety in the National Football League. He's out. Joe Berger, their centre, or Berger, however you want to pronounce it, their centre is out. Now, this Vikings offensive line, is the worst offensive line in football. They've lost Matt Khalil, their starting left tackle. They then lost Jake Long, their left tackle. They've now got a third left tackle in there. I can't remember his name. He probably doesn't deserve for me to remember his name, but he has been absolutely awful. He's got no movement. He gets beaten off the line by any defensive lineman who he's playing against. He cannot protect Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford's release time is like 2 seconds every play. He doesn't have enough time back there. They've got no running back. It's a dual threat with Matt Asiata and Jerick McKinnon. They're playing on the road here against the Jags, who, even though Blake Bortles is a schmuck and the guy is really just dwindling, his career is going downhill, their defense still isn't bad. Obviously, Jared Odrick is on season-ending injured reserve, who's one of their best defensive players, the Jacksonville Jaguars, that is. However, I think with the players the Vikings have missing, I don't think they can be a team to lean on this week. They are -3. They are the heavy public play. And a lot of people are betting on the Vikings this week, thinking that the 6-6 team will beat the 2-10 team easily. I really don't think that's going to be the case. Yes, Julius Thomas is out for the season, and the Vikings also have another. The Jaguars also have another offensive player out for the season. I believe Allen out for the game at least. I believe Alan Hearns is missing. Will this be a low-scoring game with so many players out on both sides of the ball? I don't know, but with a lot of players out for both teams, it creates a lot of question marks for me. I don't think the Vikings have enough to cover 3, and maybe they won't even have enough to win outright. It's a tough road game. It's a different climate. They're going all the way to the bottom of the country where it's going to be sticky, it's going to be hot, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, man, they've got to win sometime. Gus Bradley is a pretty hyped-up coach, and I think it's only a matter of time before the Jags go get after it and get themselves a win. Jacksonville 17, Vikings 16. That's my prediction, and all 3 home teams have cashed straight up so far. We're about to buck that trend, though, with the Bengals at the Browns. The Cincinnati Bengals are 4-7-1. They come into this one as a -5 favourite against the 0-12 Cleveland Browns. Newsflash, Robert Griffin III will be starting for the home team as the Browns look to get their first win of the season. The Bengals have been a really bad road team this year. They're 0-6 against the spread on the road. Look, the Browns have had the bye. They've had Robert Griffin resting. They've had the opportunity to wait and kind of prepare themselves as much as they can to get their first win of the season after starting 0-12. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think... Excuse me. I don't think it's going to happen this week. I think the Bengals are going to win this one 33 points to 17. I'm not spending a whole lot of time on this one. The first 4 games, look, I'm not going to have a play for the Vikings game. I may have a play for the first 2. I'm definitely not going to have a play for the Bengals at the Browns. I don't like the Bengals at all. I don't like them to cover 5. It's an AFC North game. It could be close, but at the same time, I can never justify any decision that revolves around backing the 0-12 Browns. I'm going to steer clear of this one. I think, the Bengals, Andy Dalton looked great last week. Brandon LaFell's going to be playing. Tyler Eifert's going to be playing. I think he's got enough weapons to get the job done. By how many points, I don't know, but I think the Bengals are going to win this game. I'm not going to touch anything else. The next game I'm going to bring to you is the 3-9 Chicago Bears at the 8-4 Detroit Lions. The line is Lions -7.5. This is interesting. It's a pretty evenly bet matchup in terms of tickets and kind of widespread action. The Chicago Bears went from +9 to +7.5, which I guess could give the indication that there's more coming in on them. I have absolutely no idea. Just like in the Cardinals-Dolphins game, I have no idea why the Bears and Lions has brought in a lot of underdog action. The Lions are 4-1 against the spread at home, and the Bears are the most injured team I've ever seen right now. Like, the Bears are a team where we've been watching them all year and saying, oh, okay, they're really injured, but at least he's still playing. Oh, well, yeah, they're really injured, but at least they've still got him. Now it's like, oh, yeah, well, they've got a lot of injuries, but, oh, hang on, he's out too. Danny Trevathan on IR. Zach Miller, who was one of their best offensive players, just a really fundamentally sound tight end who was making some big plays, out for the season. Jay Cutler out for the season. Alshon Jeffrey suspended. Kyle Long, their best offensive tackle, out for the season. Lamar Houston, their best defensive lineman, out for the season. Kevin White, their second-year speedy wide receiver, he's out. They have no one. They have a nice little running back. They've got a banged-up defense. And the Lions have a hell of a lot of momentum, a hell of a lot to play for. Matt Stafford is playing great. Their team is relatively injury-free with a question mark over their running back. I think the Lions are going to blow the Bears out 41 points to 14, and this may just be on my card. The Lions will not have an issue beating the Bears this week. I can't see this being close. Don't care if it's NFC North stuff. The Lions are going to smoke the Bears, and they're going to walk out of this one with their 9th win of the season. The next game, the Washington Redskins -2 at the Philadelphia Eagles. This match started even money. It's now gone into Washington Redskins -2. A lot more people have been betting the Redskins. I think it's a little bit scary, this one. The Eagles are 4-1 at home. They were 4-0 at home prior to that loss they had against Green Bay a couple of weeks ago. The Redskins season is well and truly on the line. Look, they're 6-5. I think Philly at 5-7 are probably done, especially in that tough NFC East division. But, the Eagles won't roll over. The one thing I do like about the Redskins in this game is they're 5-0 against the spread versus Philly in the last 3 years. They've got Jordan Reed probably going to play. Jamison Crowder's definitely going to play, who's one of the better slot receivers in the NFL. Kirk Cousins hasn't really taken a backward step all year. He's still hustling for that paycheck. I like the Redskins in this one, 27 points to 20. I'm a little bit worried about fading that Eagles defense that is still pretty injury-free at this point in the season. But from what I've seen with Philly in the last couple of weeks, I don't think I want to gamble on or against them. I'll probably leave this one out, but I do like the Redskins to get the win, 27 points to 20 in a game that could be relatively high scoring. Look for each team to score 3 or 4 touchdowns each, just by virtue of that Redskins offense just playing so well. However, by the same token, the Eagles defense has been good at home. So, what am I even saying? Not really sure what's going to happen in this one. I think the Redskins will do enough to get the job done, but it's probably not going to be on my card. The next one, the Buffalo Bills are playing host to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Bills are 6-6. The Steelers are 7-5. Look, the Bills in this AFC conference, this tough AFC conference, probably at the point where they need to win out to make it anywhere near the playoffs. When you got guys like Oakland, and you've got a bunch of other really good teams. You got Indianapolis and Tennessee and Baltimore, Pittsburgh. All these teams hanging around the 7-5 mark, 6-6 mark. The Bills pretty much need to win every single game between now and the end of the season if they want to make the playoffs. And it starts here, playing host to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, both of these teams are pretty healthy. They've both got most of their main guys playing. The Steelers have Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and Ben Roethlisberger all healthy, which doesn't bode well for the Bills at all. But the Bills have LaShawn McCoy, Sammy Watkins. They've got Tyrod Taylor, who I believe is quite a good quarterback. And I am yawning, and I'm sorry for it. The public are pretty large on the Steelers in this game, which means, they're taking a lot more tickets. In fact, the line's gone from Steelers -2 to Steelers -3, so it's getting pushed out to that field goal mark. The Bills run the ball very well at home. However, the Steelers have only allowed one 100-yard rusher in the last 5 or so weeks, which was Ezekiel Elliott. The Steelers also have 3 ATS wins in a row. Look, this Steelers team, you would think, is probably good enough to get the job done, right, with Ben Roethlisberger. I don't know, man. I sense an ambush coming. I think the Bills, as a slight home underdog, are going to be able to shake things up. I think the Steelers are going. I think Ben Roethlisberger is going to struggle. And I don't think that's going to be any fault of his own. I just really like the idea and the thought of the Bills getting after Ben Roethlisberger in this one. I've kind of had it in my head all week. Not going to be a play yet, but I am going through and I'm picking every game. I'm taking the Bills 30 points to 17. You heard it. The Steelers' defense has been great lately, but I just think the Bills' offense, LaShawn McCoy, Tyrod Taylor, Sammy Watkins coming back. Steelers' secondary is improving, but still a little bit shaky, as it has been for the last 5 or so seasons. I like the Bills, man. I think they're going to get the job done, 30 points to 17. Don't bet on the Steelers. That's all I'm going to say. The next one, Houston Texans at the Indianapolis Colts, and I do have a 4-unit bet penciled in for this game. And as I was saying to a couple of my mates before, just because it's 4 stakes doesn't mean you need to bleed yourself dry in order to bet on the Houston Texans. Don't be silly. I don't want people leaving themselves too short-handed after betting on this game. We still need to be in a position where if this bet does happen to lose, we're still going to be able to come out and have fun betting on a bunch of other games and potentially still turn profit on the day. So 4 stakes doesn't mean all of your bankroll, doesn't mean a mortgage, it just means 4 stakes. And your stakes should be set up responsibly using a percentage of your bankroll or something that you feel comfortable with and kind of not hanging yourself completely out on the line. We don't want everybody completely and utterly sweating on the Texans, but we do want people backing them home because I do think this is a strong play. It is Texans plus 6.5 between a pair of 6-6 teams here. Look, the Texans have been on a tough road stretch, man. They played 3 games in a row against pretty good teams. They played the Raiders, the Chargers, the Packers. 2 of those games were on the road. One was technically at home, but it was in Mexico. So they played in Mexico. They played back in Houston. Then they played in Green Bay in the snow. So 3 games that probably the Colts wouldn't have been able to win either. And the Colts, look. This line, to me, at minus 6.5, is super, super inflated. It's inflated because of how bad the Texans have been, but I think the Texans are a pretty bad team, but I don't think they're as bad as what this line indicates. In an AFC South game where the Texans were able to beat the Colts by 26 points to 23 in Week 6, I believe it was, the Colts got a win 41 points to 10 on Monday night. However, when you have a look at the team they played against, the New York Jets, the Jets were absolutely terrible. How can you look at this game and say, oh yeah, the Colts are back? Oh yeah, Andrew Luck's back. Oh, he dropped 4 TDs, man. There were receivers running wide open, getting absolutely no attention from DBs. The Jets are awful. The Texans are 6-6. They're in a log jam at the top of the AFC South. Brock Osweiler has his job on the line, as does Bill O'Brien. I think if the Texans were to finish 7-9 and not make the playoffs, there'd be even more question marks than what are floating around the town now. The Texans are going to put it all on the line. The Colts' defense is awful. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. Their offensive line is bad, and the Texans just happen to have Vince Wilfork and Jadeveon Clowney. They've got a relatively good defense. They've got a good running back in Lamar Miller. Look, this Texans offense isn't crazy, but they've got weapons, man. Lamar Miller's probably going to run for 100. DeAndre Hopkins might make a few plays. This is a big game for the Texans. And the Colts, yes, they've got T.Y. Hilton. Yes, they've got Andrew Luck. They've got Frank Gore. They've got an excellent kicker. But at the end of the day, their offensive line is bad. Their defensive line is... Their defense in general is bad. And when you're looking for a team to cover 6 or cover 7, you need their defense to be able to make their fair share of plays. And I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it. I don't know how many points Luck's going to score, but it certainly won't be 41. I think the Texans are going to win this one outright in OT, 27 points to 24. And they'll jump to the top of the division equal with the Titans, in my opinion. All right, so let's just rip off the page of my next set of study, and it's going to be the San Diego Chargers at the Carolina Panthers, where I'm actually working on a pretty juicy prop bet for this one. I don't do prop bets often. I have been trialing them just to myself, and I think I'm going to actually release one right now, or not right now, soon, when I drop my card officially. I won't tell you what it is. First, I'll go through the little dot points I've got here. First things first. Luke Kuechly is out for the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are 4-8. The San Diego Chargers are 5-7. Both of these teams are probably done for the season. The San Diego Chargers, look, if they come out and win 4 in a row and finish 9-7, there's probably a 10% chance or a 20% chance they'll make the playoffs. I don't see it. However, they could definitely win this game. Luke Kuechly's out, and I think him missing is really a big reason why their defense has been so bad. He is an excellent tackler. He's excellent in coverage. He's probably the best all-round middle linebacker in the league and has been for the last 2 or 3 seasons. And the Panthers here are a public-heavy bet. People like betting on the Panthers. Well, look, I'm not going to say it's public-heavy. I'm going to say it's a slight edge to the Panthers. But I don't think the Chargers can be taken lightly, okay? Phillip Rivers is a hell of a competitor, and they play a next man up kind of scheme on offense where guys like Keenan Allen drop, guys like Danny Woodhead drop, and they keep finding new weapons. There's a guy who's been catching a lot of passes, Dontrell Inman, who is just an absolute nobody, who's just looked good. And has he looked good because of Phillip Rivers? Well, yeah, maybe. That's what Rivers does. He makes lesser guys look pretty damn good. Look, I'm going to say that the Panthers are going to win this game 34 points to 27. I've got quite a strong lean on the over 49.5 total match points. I think both of these defenses are bad. They've both got players missing. Kurt Coleman's going to be out for the Panthers, perhaps. Brandon Flowers is the Chargers' best corner. He's going to be here. He won't be playing. Look, let me just tell you something, okay? I'm going to present you with 3 dot points in. Tell me if I pose a good point. The Chargers concede 271 passing yards per game. This is 27th in the NFL. Okay? The Panthers have every single wide receiver, tight end playing. They've got Kelvin Benjamin, they've got Ted Ginn, they've got Greg Olsen, they've got a couple tailbacks who like to catch the football from time to time. Cam Newton's passing yards is set for 230.5 on Sportsbet. Keep in mind, I think this will be a high-scoring game. I think there'll be a lot of possessions. I think it might even be what you would consider a shootout at 34 points to 27. The Chargers also rank 3rd or 4th in the league, can't remember which one, at defensive rushing yards per game, which means I think there'll be a lot of 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11, 3rd and 9 situations where Cam Newton's going to have to throw the ball because he hasn't been able to run the ball. And by the time we get to the 3rd quarter, they may have even realised they're not going to be able to run the ball very well with a relatively banged-up offensive line. They were missing their centre, Ryan Khalil, last week. Not sure on his status, but either way, I see Cam Newton airing it out at least 25 to 30 times at home, which should get him over 230.5 passing yards. That is something I like for this game. Now, can I play the Panthers' money line? I can't really do it comfortably just because Luke Kuechly's still out. However, I do like this player prop indeed. Cam Newton over 230.5 passing yards. It's 245.5 on CrownBet, okay? 230.5 on Sportsbet. I like it. I think that it's something that... I think that they're selling him way short in this. I think Cam Newton is going to be able to get that mark, and I think it's probably something I'm going to be releasing for at least a stake. Now, we're going to go to the next game, which is going to be the San Francisco 49ers at the New York Jets. And the San Francisco 49ers actually find themselves as a favourite. They're a minus 2.5 point favourite. They do have a 1-11 record, but the New York Jets aren't too crash hot either. They've got a 3-9 record. This game is a real downer of a game, and you'd have to convince me a hell of a lot, and you have to pose a hell of a lot of points to me for me to want to bet on the San Francisco 49ers. Okay, they have a pretty bad team. They were horrible last week. Eric Reid is officially out for the season as of a couple of weeks ago. Torrey Smith is banged up. He didn't catch a football last week, and neither did anyone really, but he's probably going to play, but he's got a banged up shoulder. Navarro Bowman's out for the season. DeForest Buckner, I think he's actually going to play. I've got an injury update on him here, but he's probably going to play. So scratch that. I think we'll see DeForest Buckner playing. But basically what I'm saying is I really don't think that you can ever hang your hat on a 1-11 team, let alone a 1-11 team at minus 2.5. Like, these guys are favourites. So I think that's pretty crazy. I think that if you're looking for value, the value is probably with the New York Jets. However, they've got Nick Mangold, their starting center, who's out for the season. Muhammad Wilkerson's questionable. Calvin Pry is questionable. So these are a couple of really important players that they have. And, I think that it's going to be Colin Kaepernick playing quarterback again for the San Francisco 49ers. I think, in fact, this is interesting, guys. I haven't actually researched this game as well as I should have, so we're going to find out right now. Is Colin Kaepernick going to be playing for the 49ers? And B, yes, he's playing for the 49ers, and who will be playing for the Jets? Will it be Bryce Petty or will it be Ryan Fitzpatrick? Because that's going to tell me a lot, man. Ryan Fitzpatrick has been benched. Bryce Petty will start the final 4 games of the season after coming on in relief of Fitzmagic on Monday evening. Look, man, this game's tricky for me just because the 49ers are a minus 2.5 point favourite, which is so crazy considering how crap they are. However, I think they will actually win this game. I think the 49ers will have enough in the tank to win this game against Bryce Petty and the away travelling to the West Coast New York Jets. The New York Jets have drawn, I'm going to say, a little bit more public action, but it's pretty evenly split because people obviously do like the value on the Jets there. I think the San Francisco 49ers are going to win this game. I think it's going to be a little bit more high scoring than what people will predict. I'm going to say San Francisco 49ers 24, New York Jets 19. And that's how I'm going to roll with it. San Francisco 49ers 24, New York Jets 19. Okay, we've got a couple games left, or about 4 games left, and we're going to talk about them pretty quickly because we're coming up on the half an hour mark here, and I'd like to try and keep it under that or close to under that. Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing host to the New Orleans Saints. The Buccaneers are a $1.81 favourite, and the New Orleans Saints really are in dire straits at 5-7. The Buccaneers could potentially grab the lead of the division with a win here and a Falcons loss. It's a game where the Saints have come right in from +3 to, in some places, +1. But then it's kind of drifted back out to +2. The Saints are 5-0 against the spread on the road. However, they're 2-3 straight up on the road. So I guess if you can take the Saints on the road with points, bet them. But when you're only getting 2, maybe it's not a great idea. The Buccaneers are 2-4 at home, which means they're 5-1 on the road. So that's pretty crazy. The Buccaneers play worse at home, and the Saints play better on the road. So that's a pretty interesting set of statistics there for this game. In the NFC South, it really is extremely important. Jameis Winston played great last week at San Diego. Drew Brees didn't play so good at home, but each week's a new week, and we could see some new things happening. As I said, this line's gone from 3 to 1, and now it's probably at 2. It's probably going to stay there. Let's talk about the injuries for each of these teams. Mark Ingram is probable. Teron Armstead is questionable. Michael Thomas is probable. It's looking like the Saints are going to come in here with a pretty healthy roster. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Doug Martin is probable. And from what I'm seeing, look, Vincent Jackson's out for the season, but we've known that for a while now. He's still going to have... Cecil Shorts is also out for the season. But they're still going to have Mike Evans in, and they're still going to have they have an impressive tight end What is his name? His name is Cameron Brate. He will be playing, and he's a nice little player for the Buccaneers. So, the Bucs have weapons, the Saints have weapons. There could be a few points in this one, depending on the weather, which I haven't checked yet, which I only really check if I'm looking at a total or a real difference in styles. I think in this one, I really don't know who's going to win. I think the Bucs are going to get a win. I think they're going to get a win. I think they need a win. I think they're going to really place an emphasis on finally grabbing a home win. I think the Bucs are going to jump up to 8-5. I think they're going to win this game 30 points to 24. There could be some points in it, but pending the weather, let's just say Buccaneers by 6. And this is the less prepared portion of my card so far, just because I wanted to get the podcast over and done with. But I do think the Buccaneers are going to have enough to get the win in this game. Now, we've got 3 games left, I believe, and we're going to go straight to Seattle at Green Bay, which is probably going to be the most bet-on game of the week. And if you could guess who has received more betting tickets, at least according to sportsbookreview.com, who would you guess? Okay, well, I can tell you it is the Green Bay Packers, okay? That people like the Packers +3 at home. It is a pretty good line for Aaron Rodgers at home. In fact, how often are the Packers +3 at home? Well, about as often as they play the Seahawks or the Patriots or whatever, because the Hawks are better than the Packers right now. They have an 8-3 record, and they were absolutely excellent last week. Russell Wilson is looking incredible. Jimmy Graham is playing well. Look, Earl Thomas is on injured reserve, and they don't play anywhere near as good without Earl Thomas. However, they've still got Sherman, who's having a good year. Cam Chancellor's back and healthy. They've got Ricardo Lockett. Is it Ricardo Lockett or is it Tyler Lockett? It's Tyler Lockett. Sorry, Ricardo Lockett is retired. But yeah, look, they've got Procise. They've got the offensive line, is pretty bad, but is probably going to get the job done. At least giving Russell Wilson enough time to make plays. Yeah, look, the Packers are on a 2-game winning streak, and they pretty much need to run the table if they want to make the playoffs. I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to go in there and win this game. Look, if you're talking about the Lambeau Field element making this a very advantageous position for the Packers, I think you're probably wrong. The Seattle Seahawks are used to the cold. They're used to it raining. They're used to muggy weather. And I think that the way the Seahawks play defense, they kind of like to scrap. They like to battle. They got Martellus Bennett. They've got KJ Wright. They've got some tough guys. I think if this comes down to a 17-10 type of scoreline, the Seahawks are going to be comfy with that. They're going to be able to get after Aaron Rodgers, man. I like the Hawks in this one. Packers aren't going to be running the table anymore. I think the Hawks are going to win this one 27 points to 17, and I think they'll keep the streak going, and I think they'll take out the Packers. Okay, let's get to it. We have 2 games left, which is the Atlanta Falcons at the Los Angeles Rams, and then the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Giants. Going to go through this one as quickly as I can. Look, I'm going to come out and say to you guys right now that I think the Atlanta Falcons are in for a bit of an ambush when they travel to Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Rams have had a bye. They just extended the contract on Jeff Fisher, and I don't know why, but they've done it, which is probably going to create a little bit of comfort for Jeff Fisher anyway, and hopefully the team, I think that roster does like Jeff Fisher quite a bit, and I think they're buying into what he's doing. And Jeff Fisher has said a couple times that, look, it's been a different set of circumstances this year. How many times has a head coach had to deal with a relocation? Not recently, not since I've been watching. So yeah, look, it's a unique set of circumstances for Jeff Fisher. Look, the Rams are 1-3 against the spread at home. The Atlanta Falcons on the road are 4-2 and 5-1 against the spread. So if you're looking at trend betting, well, you probably got to keep looking if you kind of wanted to look for a reason to bet on the LA Rams. But I just think the Rams are going to be able to get the job done. Look, they've got Robert Quinn, who's questionable, Tavon Austin, who's questionable, Roger Saffold, questionable, EJ Gaines, questionable. Look, the Falcons have Desmond Trufant out, Jacob Tamme out. They're both out for the season. Jake Matthews injured last game. He's probable. Mohamed Sanu's probable. Adrian Claiborne is out. And Julio Jones is probable. Julio Jones is probable here, but I would suggest he is probably not probable. I think Julio Jones may be well under 100%. Adam Schefter reports the Falcons aren't sure if Julio Jones will play. So he's got a toe issue. And if Julio Jones was to pull out before this game, that would make all the difference in the world. Look, I'm going to call the upset here. I'm going to do it, man. Like, why not? The Rams are prepared. They've got Jared Goff, who has had time to watch film on this Falcons defense that isn't really that great. There's a big travel job for the Falcons going across the country. I think the Rams are going to get the job done here, man. Let's call the Rams to get a win. 23 points to 17. Yep. I did it. Really gutsy call, but I like the Rams in this one. I think they've got a really great defense. It's going to depend largely on whether Robert Quinn plays, and it's going to suck having to stay awake for that one to kind of wait on that news. But I think that's the risk I'm going to take. I'd probably bet the Rams now, and then when Robert Quinn gets confirmed to be in, they might go to 5 instead of 6. The last game is the game that perhaps everyone's talking about. Up there with Seattle and Green Bay. It is the Dallas Cowboys traveling to New York. Can the Dallas Cowboys increase their incredible winning run to 12 wins and 1 loss? They've been an absolute road warrior, 9-3 or 8-3 against the spread this year in total, and very, very good against the spread on the road. In fact, their road ATS numbers are 5-1, and they haven't lost on the road. They're 6-0 on the road. Interesting stat, Ezekiel Elliott from high school to college at Ohio State to the pros at Dallas has never, ever lost a road game. But this is a tough one. The New York Giants are 5-1. Their defense is much improved. From a betting standpoint, the New York Giants are getting 3.5 at home, which is a nice buffer for a Cowboys team that only won by 2 on the road last week. They're playing on the road again. Let's check the injuries in this one and see if there's anyone under any kind of injury clouds that we should really be taking a close look at. Also, I'm not going to be talking about the Baltimore-New England game on this podcast just because it's going to come separately tomorrow with potentially a play, but I'm not going to talk about it here. Injury time. Okay, Orlando Scandrick, probable. DeMarcus Lawrence, probable. J.J. Wilcox, out. Justin Durant, questionable. Shaz Green, questionable. So nothing really serious here, nothing new. The New York Giants, Dwayne Harris, questionable. Jonathan Hankins, questionable. Jason Pierre-Paul, he's going to be out for the season. Big loss. Other than that, we've still got your Beckhams, your Des Bryants, your Eli Manning, Dak Prescott, obviously, Rashad Jennings, Ezekiel Elliott. It's going to be an old-fashioned, as good as advertised, I hope, type NFC East primetime matchup. And how can you go against the Dallas Cowboys? I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to win this one 23 points to 20. Maybe they won't cover, but they're going to get the win. They're going to have enough. Ezekiel Elliott and that offensive line is too strong, and I'm not going to go against the wave, man. I'm going to ride it right now, at least from a head-to-head perspective. I think Dallas are going to get the win. You've heard my thoughts, so listen to this. Tell me what you think underneath. Subscribe to my channel, and I'm going to be releasing a full card of picks momentarily, okay? Or at least, inside the next hour or two. All right, thanks for listening, guys. Jake Humphries, PSP NFL. Let's get ready for Week 14. We're going to win again.